Before doing your graphic organizer in front of students, take the time to intentionally plan for one, especially if you're starting from scratch. I hope you checked out part 1 where we talked about standards-based planning. Now let's create our Blackline master.
So now that we have our focus, we know we're doing the ocean zones. I just did a quick little research because again, at kindergarten, the goal is to not overwhelm with all the animals in the world. We're just gonna focus on one plant and animal for each zone. So what I did was I roughly traced out some ocean zones. And as you can see, we've titled it Ocean Zones. This is about organisms, which are plants and animals. You can see we're going to start with the sun and how the sunlight trickles down, stopping about here because the midnight zone, there is no sun. And then I just quickly went through and found one plant, one animal for each zone. In the midnight zone, I did 2 animals because there are no plants down there. So starting with the intertidal zone, I found a picture of a hermit crab and some marine algae. In the sunlight zone, I went with the Caribbean reef shark and the seagrass. And then for the midnight zone, I'm going with the giant tube worm and the blobfish. I chose these organisms because I know when we go into doing the input chart in the graphic organizer with different animals and plants from the different ocean zones, these are not animals we're covering. So we'll save those for a different video. Today, we're just now going to go to the next step, which would be determining color coding. We have to make it visual and organize schema and categories and information for our language learners. So simply with kindergarten, TK, preschool, we use the color red when we're talking about the topic. It's a power color, it draws your attention to it. When we think of warning signs, stop signs, they happen to be red. So we want our students to look here first. So I'm just going to simply trace over my words that I want in red with red. Again, this is just the word organisms, the title, and that we're talking about plants and animals. And then something I'm going to do is for the sunlight zone, that's going to be blue. I'm going to use the lighter blue to just trace over the sun. This is why we always recommend doing pencil first, so you can kind of map it out and see what it looks like before popping in the color. Because now I'm going to use the darker blue when we're actually talking about the sunlight zone. So that way students really see that connection, that when we're referring to sunlight zones, it happens to get its name because of the sun and the role that it plays for the organisms that live there. I'm also going to make sure that we have Caribbean reef shark in blue, as well as seagrass in blue because that's the plant and the animal located in the sunlight zone. I'm also just going to do this top ocean with the wave crashing into the shore. So we know that this whole area is the sunlight zone. And then I'm going to switch out my color to green and do the intertidal zone. And then I would use black to highlight the midnight zone. Now, if I were in 3rd grade, 4th grade, I might actually label all the animals brown and all the plants green. Depending on complexity and how many categories and how many words you have really goes up with the grade levels that you teach. And so just keeping it simple here in kindergarten, I'm just going to keep the plant and animal color attached to the zone, and then the pictures will just go on there.
For more Project GLAD inspired tips, strategies, and resources, be sure to check out my Instagram, Gladly Teaching, or my website, gladlyteaching.podia.com. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel.